Hey, how's it going? It's a drizzly Monday here in Dayton. Um, it's been cold and windy. If you're a runner like me, and it's miserable, but hey, it's going to get warmer. It's going to get better. Hope all is well. Again, this website, I moved the remote learning, so it's right next to the home button. It's got the stuff. It kind of says when I assigned it. I know you get it in Google Classroom and stuff, but it's all there too, the videos. And again, with these videos, I would definitely recommend that you do it on a computer because you can always open it in YouTube, make my YouTube go viral, and you can pause it. You can answer the questions as you go along. It goes in order. I made the questions as it goes along, so there's no tricks. Right. So today is really the power of the legislature, part 3. And we're really going to get into the bill to the law stuff that you kind of already did by doing that assignment there where you had to read that from that book. That's an awesome example. While I keep on talking, why don't I get into the slideshow a bit? Again, lots of bills, but the idea that how a bill becomes a law. I mean, usually when it's taught, it's a flow chart or something like that, and it doesn't. It's hard to understand, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to go through with you in a different way than they did in that assignment. But like I said, you guys did a really good job on that assignment, the Bill to Law assignment, and that lesson. And I think you're going to come into this with a real understanding, and I'm just going to be filling in a little more gaps. So I'm going to go through these steps with you. My notes kind of follow these steps. I think I made it 10 steps. I'm not sure. It's not really that important how many steps because, it depends on. Yeah, that's my famous pointer. All right, so let's start here with this. I'm Just a Bill. I'm Just a Bill is probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous, Schoolhouse Rocks thing. The Schoolhouse Rocks, and I've explained this to you already, that, back in the 70s, every kid watched Saturday morning cartoons. It was the one time television was devoted to kids, and someone from ABC came up with the idea that why not throw in like a commercial that puts like learning lessons to, up like a commercial and a catchy tune kind of a thing. And we did the preamble, We the People, and they did multiplication tables, they did science facts, they did all different things. The I'm Just a Bill is probably the most famous. It's actually got a little bit of a dark story behind it. In the 70s, when they wrote it, they said, well, let's do a real bill, and that had just gotten passed by the federal government, and it was about school buses. There was a school bus in the middle of the Midwest. I don't remember which state it was, or Kansas or something. They were bringing kids home from an elementary school, and they got to a railroad crossing, and the lights weren't flashing, so the bus drivers kept on going. There was a train coming, and the train saw the bus wasn't going to stop, so he laid on the horn, jammed on the brakes. I mean, you can hear screeching, but the bus driver couldn't hear. I don't know if you've ever been in a bus before, but the bus was so loud he couldn't hear the screeching brakes, the horn of the train until it was too late, and so it was a horrible accident. I don't know, how many kids got killed or how many badly injured, or I don't know the stats of it. But the people of the town were mortified by and the people who had kids in the bus were definitely mortified. And they came up with the idea that, hey, shouldn't buses have to like stop at railroad tracks just in case the lights are malfunctioning, and open the door? Forcing bus drivers to look both ways, and the door opens and they can hear things better on a loud bus. So they presented it to their congressman, and he sponsored it. He said, "Yeah, it's a great idea," and he wrote it up, and it became a law. And that's what "I'm Just a Bill" is actually based off of. Here it is. I'm just a bill.
Bill. Whew, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee. But I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill. Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage. Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." And he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. I hope and pray that they will. But today I am still just a bill. Listen to those congressmen arguing. Is all that discussion and debate about you? Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die. Die? Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me. If they vote yes, what happens? Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again. Oh, no. Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be a law. I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill. You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no? Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so old. By that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it? No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill. He signed your bill. Now you're a law. Oh, yes.
So, yeah, so that's the "I'm Just a Bill" song. He said, he signed your bill. Now you're a law." So it has to pass both houses of Congress, the House and the Senate, both chambers, and then it has to go to the president to be signed. And but there's a lot more to it than that, and that's why we end up with that diagram thing that I kind of really like. I'll get rid of this, and this one, where there's tens of thousands of bills that get introduced during a session. The session is 2 years, and very a few small percentage, 1 to 5% become law, and a lot of those are just because they expire, just renews on older bills. So yeah, new ideas like that are hard to get through. So let's get to it. Let's go into. Oops, what am I clicking on? I don't know what that is. I meant to click onto the next slide. All right, so we're going to come back to this, and let's start into the real stuff. So the idea for a bill, I broke it up into like parts A, B, C kind of thing. And the idea is free petition. That anyone can come up with an idea for a bill. That's all free petition means. That anyone can come up with an idea for a bill. Perfect example of this is like they used to do a bill to law thing in 3rd grade at Palm River, and the teacher there, who I don't remember who her name was, it was like 20 years ago. She wanted the kids to kind of learn how a bill becomes a law, in an interactive way. So she had the kids write up a bill, and they got the state senator, who was Phil Travis back then, before Representative Howitt. He sponsored it, and the idea was they said, we have a state bird, we have a state tree, why not have a state bug? And what better bug to pick than the ladybug? So they proposed the ladybug become the state bug, and it went all the way through the state house. It went to the House, the Senate, and it was signed by the governor. And they probably went in and testified at the hearings, all dressed up like ladybugs. I hope, because that's just a great image. A bunch of third grade kids dressed up like ladybugs. Right? You can't not like that. Anyway, and that's why I say that, because free petition is anybody can come up with the idea for a law, even a bunch of third grade kids. Anybody can come up with the idea. Although most of the laws, we said, comes from the executive branch. Maybe ordinary citizens, the president, but the executive branch, I mean, that's everybody. That's the, housing and urban development. It's the Department of Defense. It's the, and that's where a lot of laws come from. I mean, regulations on on travel and all that stuff. So that comes from the executive, because the executive, again, they carry out the law of the country, so they kind of need laws and things. It also comes from states, from state legislators and governors. They want a law that they have in their own state, maybe to be a law across the country. Congressional staff. These people are experts that work for all the senators and reps, and they might have some good ideas on how to fix things. So that's what free petition means. It can come from anywhere, but most come from the executive branch, right? Okay. So once you have your idea, you do need a sponsor, and the sponsor is kind of like you kind of think like it's a person that is a politician. It's got to be someone that's in Congress, in the Senate, that agrees and will write it up. So you would probably go to Joe Kennedy's office in Attleboro or something and talk to him about it. Or you might come in with a big petition signed by 1,000 people and say, we really like this, and but you have to get a representative or a senator to sponsor it. And it doesn't have to be your representative or your senator, but it usually is. It usually is someone. And if it's like a really popular thing, if it's something like, it's like a no-brainer, it'd be a wonderful thing. You might have multiple sponsors, and it's like congressmen from all over the country will sign on to be a sponsor just because they want their name to be on the bill, because it's such a really good idea. I can't think of any great examples of that right now, but I'm old and tired. So you need a congressional sponsor. In this one, the people went to their congressman from wherever it was there in the Midwest. They had Rep McCoy. I don't think that's his real name. I don't know who the representative was, but he wrote it up and he presented it to the Speaker of the House. And that's the next step. So the idea, free petition, anyone can come up with the idea. You have to have a sponsor from Congress, and then the sponsor gives it to the Speaker. Again, we're following an example where it goes from the House to the Senate to the President. It can go to the Senate, to the House, and the President too, but we're going House to Senate. Most bills go that direction, and the House has 435 members. They can handle a lot more bills, and they handle all the bills that have to do with money. This bus one does not have to do really with money, so it could have gone Senate to House, but we're following it House to Senate. So the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she is, she's 80 years old. I hope I look like that when I'm 80. She'll assign it to the proper committee, and you've done some of this. I mean, and this is not really political or anything. It's just a matter of who's going to be the experts on this. Like I said to you, when you first get into Congress, you kind of are put on a committee based on your background, and I might be on the education committee, and I might know a little bit about foreign affairs because I'm a history geek. They try to put you on committees where you're going to be strong and you're going to be interested, at least, because this is where you're going to do all your work. So you've got to be interested. If you don't like the subject, it's not going to be a good place for you. This probably went to transportation and infrastructure, because the idea of having buses stop at railroad crossings to open the door, that could really do some bad stuff to traffic and stuff. And so they're probably the best off to understand this, right? So they probably took it. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just saying that's probably where it went. This is this is there, and it tells you, what's going on. Investigations, they're investigating. The transportation, they're investigating the Boeing thing, and that's what Congress also does. Their oversight. So they do a lot of investigating. to make sure that companies aren't taking advantage of the American people and stuff. So they do things like that, and yeah. And subcommittees is really where a lot of the work. If you did that homework assignment, the subcommittees do the real research. So let's get back. She refers it to the right committee, and they start working on it. And the committee is where most bills die, and it's where most of the work is done. So they take action. This is number 2 I put, but it doesn't matter what number you call it. And so what they're going to do is they're really going to the subcommittee will take it and they'll start researching the ins and outs. They'll become experts on the possibility. You basically have less than 2 years, and they want to do it as quickly as possible while the idea is fresh. They might travel to foreign countries as far away as Canada. They can go anywhere in the world. And sometimes they travel and they go to the foreign countries and that might have these laws already in place, and they ask questions. That's why they travel, and they meet with other foreign leaders and that have similar laws. They might go to states that already have these laws, and they'll talk to people. They'll do research on past laws that are similar to this. Or has this already been a law and then they took it went away because it wasn't a good idea? We don't want to make the same mistake twice. So they're doing that kind of research. They're going to look at, like, is it going to be too costly? Is it going to mess up traffic really, really bad? Is there really a problem with railroad crossings? Does that rarely ever happen, or does it happen more than you think? They're going to meet with people around the country, and bus companies and schools and railroad companies, and try to make a good decision. This is, and I'm telling you, this is where our system is strong. And people don't pay attention to this, which means there's less politics involved. It's not Democrat, Republican. They're working together, and they're just trying to become experts on it, and they're trying to understand if this is good or bad. And so it's our system working. The next thing they do is they hold hearings, and the hearings are the subcommittee hearings are some of the most powerful stuff that you see. It's here where they bring them into, it looks like a courtroom, but it's the committee's room. Most of these committee rooms are across the street from the Capitol building and those office buildings, and they look a lot like courtrooms, except they have seats for everyone. And the people come in, they swear under oath to tell the truth, and you'll bring people in, like for this bus one, they probably bring in bus drivers. And they'll say, how loud is it? Is it that bad that you can't hear a train coming? They'll bring in, train conductors and stuff. And they'll bring in, I guarantee they brought in the families of the people that had their kids injured or killed on that bus. And they'll tell their story, and they'll bring in the pictures, and they'll cry in front of the subcommittee. And this is where, the congressmen who have done all this research and they've become like experts can now look people in the eye and that are going to be affected by it. You don't make a decision in education without talking to teachers and parents and kids. You don't make a decision on defense, on changing the rules for the military without bringing in military people and soldiers. And that's what's good about our system. Our founding fathers knew that this would be a good idea to have these hearings. When you see these hearings on TV, let me just go to the next slide, although I'm stopping here for the most part, but the committee rooms look like this. They look like little courtrooms. They almost all do. Some of the committees are really big, and this one's a smaller committee, so it doesn't have as many chairs. I'm going to do these examples with you in the next one, part 4. But what happens is, I remember when we brought the kids to Washington, D.C., one of the times, our representative gave us a personal tour of the Capitol building. And he was the chairman of the banking committee. So he had us meet him in the committee room. And we started in the committee room. It looked a lot like this one here. And it wasn't this one, and he explained how, the subcommittee will be up here sitting in seats. When the subcommittee is together, usually if you look on TV, you'll see all the seats aren't filled. There's a whole bunch of empty seats because it's only the subcommittee. It's only 25% of the people that are on the committee are in the subcommittee or less, especially in the House of Representatives. So, and then they bring people in and they put them at this table in the front and they swear them in. And then in the back is just audience. You can go, if you're in Washington, D.C., you can go and watch hearings. Like this one is Mark Zuckerberg, and there's all cameras and there's tons of people at the committee hearing. Normally, there's no one there. But the subcommittee will hold the hearings, and you won't get the whole committee there for a hearing unless it's a big, big thing like Mark Zuckerberg. But a lot of times you'll see like empty seats. It's not because they're going to read about it in the congressional record and they don't really care. It's because of the fact that they're not on the subcommittee. But the subcommittees are going to ask tough questions, and they're going to try to get to the truth. They're deciding whether or not they want to own this bill, whether they want to try to sell it to the rest of the 435 members of the House of Representatives. So we'll get into the hearings. We're going to start with the hearings in the next part, right? And because this is going to go long if I don't do that. But so that's it for today. It's the first few stages of the bill becoming a law, and yeah, and that's all I have to do. That's it. So, all right. Have a fun educational afternoon. Make sure you write this in your agenda. I hope you're doing this on the computer. You're not driving your parents nuts. Be productive. Be positive. Go outside and breathe. Yeah. And we're thinking of doing like office hours. I hope that it's going to happen soon, where I'll be live on Google Chat. Stay tuned for more on that. All right. Take it easy.